I'm going to show you in this video how we can do that easily. Some students and some lecturers, they are lucky to be attached to research university where they have access to Web of Science, where they can easily find this quartile of a journal. How about students and researchers who do not have access to Web of Science? There is still an easy way to do this, provided that you are aiming for a good journal. I'm going to show you in this video how we can do that easily. Many times people get confused when they publish in Q1 and Q2 and Q3, Q4. They are referring to the quartile stated on the SIMAGO website. For your information, the quartile that the ministry and the university are talking about is not the quartile shown on SIMAGO website. SIMAGO is for Scopus. Once you publish in Scopus, it's Scopus. It doesn't matter whether it's Q1, Q2, Q3 or Q4 in the Scopus systems, because this quartile in Scopus is not considered by the university, by the ministry for the research assessment ranking. What is considered is the quartile in Web of Science, where you will need access to JCR in the Web of Science database to identify the quartile of this journal. But unfortunately, we sometimes don't have access to this JCR part in the Web of Science. So I'm going to show you an easy way how we can do this by just looking at the journal website. Most of the time, students or novice researchers, they go to this website and they check, because this is the one that they can have access to, right? And then they'll go and check, for example, the type teaching, all right? And then they will see like this journal, for example, language teaching. This is all good journal, which is very good. Okay, I'm going to show you a case where journals listed as Q1 in SIMAGO, they might not even be listed in any quartile in WOS. Right? I'm not going to look at the good journal, because most of the time good journal, which is Q1 in SIMAGO, is also Q1 in WS. But most of the time you will see lots of journals in SIMAGO listed as having Q. For example, they might even be listed as Q1, but in WS they might. One, studies in second language learning and teaching. Click here, and then when you see here, okay, so it's green here means it's Q1. Remember, this is only Q1 for Scopus, which is not the Q1 that the university wants. But let's now check whether this journal is also a Q journal in WS, right? So let's copy this title, studies in second language learning and teaching. All right, and then now we will go to Clarivate Analytic. Clarivate Analytics master list. Okay, and then we click here, and then right, search journals. All right, so this is the journal. If you see Web of Science Core Collection, it is indexed in Emerging Sources Citation Index, which is very good, because at least this journal is indexed in WS. There are many other journals listed in Scopus, indexed in Scopus. They are not even indexed in Web of Science. All right, but this journal, at least it is indexed in Web of Science. But unfortunately, in Web of Science, this journal is still very new, that it is not even given any quartile in Web of Science, which means this journal, which is Q1 in Scopus, is not even listed in any Q in WS. Why? Because it is under Emerging Sources Citation Index. One thing that you need to know about Emerging Sources Citation Index is it is indexed in Web of Science, but it is not yet counted its impact factor so that it can go into the queue. It will take sometimes years for this journal to move to the queue. One thing that you need to understand in that is that in Web of Science, we have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and then we have this emerging category, which is not yet given impact factor. When it's given impact factor, then it will move on to Q4, Q3, Q1, and Q2. All right. So if you see this one, which means, so this is an example that I'm showing to you. Q1 journal in Scopus might not even be in any queue in Web of Science. So don't make mistake. If your university, if your KPI requires you to publish Q1 journal, Q2 journal, Q3 journal, Q4 journal, the queue that they refer to is the queue in Web of Science, not the queue in Scopus, not the queue presented on Simago website. All right. So I'm going to show you another one. What's the difference? So you see here, the Web of Science core collection. It is indexed in Social Science Citation Index, SSCI. And then this one, Web of Science core collection, Emerging Sources Citation Index. So if you see that this journal is indexed in Social Science Citation Index, or because this is social science, so this paper is social science, so it is indexed in social science category. When you see Social Sciences Citation Index, this means that this journal must be in queue, but we do not know yet which queue. Right? So a good journal, especially by Sage, by Routledge, they will give some information on the journal web page, which can help you to know in which queue the journal is ranked at. All right. So Social Science Citation Index. So this journal is definitely quartile, definitely a Q journal. So by Springer, you will see emerging. So this one is not yet in any queue, although already indexed in Web of Science, not yet counted its impact factor to be included in queue. Okay, I'm going to show something from Sage so that I can show you example how we can find the quartile without having to have account with Web of Science. All right, let's try language teaching research. Okay, language teaching research by Sage. Language teaching research. Okay, language teaching research, as you see, Social Science Citation Index. All right, so let's try view profile page. What is this? Okay, so this one you see, you will need to have access. You will need to have access to Web of Science to get to know more details. So I'm going to show you how you can do this for certain journals, for certain good journals. With you will be able to know its quartile without having to log onto Web of Science. So I copy this one, copy, and then I search here.